What is good, NIO family? It's Rey-Jay back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's going on with NIO stock, what's going on with SPY, Tesla, Nvda, the QQQ, and many other tickers, and what's happening with all these different events and pieces of news that just came out. So I'm going to break down why tomorrow is going to be a big day for Aapl and how that may affect NIO, and some very bullish news that just came out for NIO that's going to be very good for it for this week, in my opinion, and what the technicals are suggesting as NIO bounced today. But before I break anything down about all this information, before I get into any more details, let me just mention a couple of things. I am firstly not a financial planner, so take none of this as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Webull link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Webull, the link down below, and deposit any amount of money into the account, you are guaranteed up to 12 free stocks. The offer ends very soon. It ends in just about 3 days, so check it out before they run out. Anyways, let's break down what's going on with NIO. NIO is up 2.89% for the day, getting rejected off the 200 EMA. And if it breaks this, it's going to have more upside potential to get all the way up to 10.6 or even very close to 11. But the question is, how is NIO looking? What factors will affect it for tomorrow? And what bullish piece of news just came out? So I'm going to be breaking all of this down in just a couple of minutes. But I first want to talk about something else that's very, very important. So the first thing you have to remember is that when it comes to the way at which this is looking for tomorrow, okay, we have the WASDE report coming out at around noon. That is going to be somewhat important. It may cause some volatility, but it's not going to be the biggest thing. I also want to warn you that for Wednesday, we have CPI coming out, and that is going to be very, very important as well. Now, on top of this, just as a reminder, NIO has announced that it has a refreshed EC6 SUV to be coming out for September 15th. Deliveries are going to be starting immediately. So that's some very, very bullish news. This is going to be very exciting. And if anything, NIO is once again going to be unveiling this, and they're going to be rolling out very, very fast. So they debuted this about 4 years ago. And now with this new EC6, this is a very, very bullish looking catalyst, in my opinion. It first came out in 2019 once again, and they're finally going to give us a refresh for this. So this is going to likely lead to more and more demand for the car. This could be bullish news for them. This is part of why NIO is bouncing so far. With their deliveries going up, it's very, very bullish news, and I'm very excited for what the future holds. Now, when it comes to NIO for tomorrow, however, I just wanted to mention this. Tomorrow, we have a big event for Aapl. Aapl has this event where it may be launching a new product, potentially even the iPhone 15, and that's going to be very, very important. Now, with that being said, okay, this is going to be huge for the company. If it leads to a big drop, it's going to slow down the whole markets, including NIO. If it leads to a big pump, it's going to help NIO pump even harder. So it all depends on Aapl. We'll have to wait and see what happens with that event. Deutsche Bank was saying to buy NIO at these levels since they're very bullish long term. The price-price ratio is starting to stabilize as NIO is gaining some strength. And then looking at Tuesdays, it tends to be the strongest day of the week for NIO as we're up 55% of the time. And finally, there's not much else going on with the short interest. Now, looking at, let's see this, the volume was 31 million, not bad whatsoever. But now let's break down what's going on with the chart and just a couple of other charts out there. So for NIO, we have a potential inverse head and shoulders like structure that is developed on the 30 minutes time frame. But we're going to be watching this 200 EMA. Okay, we want to see if this thing could break or not. If we manage to break this, then this thing is going to start pushing up very, very nicely. If it fails to do so, then we could get this rejection. But remember, it's going to depend a lot on Aapl. On SPY, there's a good chance it's going to try to continue pushing to get very close to this gap fill. So we could see a little bit more upside tomorrow, very, very close to 450. But then it's all going to depend on Appl's event. If Aapl gets a big rug pull starting at about 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern time, that's when the event happens, then even if we are going to hold up, we might see a big rug pull depending on Aapl, or if Aapl pumps, then that's going to pump the markets as well. It all depends on Aapl. If Aapl gets a big pump tomorrow after its event, we can see it pushing it well into the 180s. 185 is a real possibility. If not, it's going to start sinking. So we might see some sideways price action initially, then we'll have to wait and see from there. For the QQQ, it looks a little bit more bullish. Going to be watching for this thing to potentially push up. It's about this 378 zone. I think it could get very close to 380, but after that, it's going to depend on Appl's event. If Aapl gets a big push, it's going to push into the 380s. If we get a rejection, starts cooling off, then it's going to likely lead to downside, and Aapl, if anything, will lead the way down, so it depends on Aapl. For Nvda, this is looking a little bit weak as we got this big drop. It's trying to make its way back up to about this 461 area, but it needs to hold above 455. Now, we're going to be watching to see what happens with all this other information. We're going to have to wait and see what happens with Apple's big events. I think Nvidia is going to try to get back to at least 455, but it depends on if we could try to break this resistance or not. That's going to be very dependent on what happens tomorrow. And if Apple pumps this market, then we could see Nvidia try to push back to 465. If not, it all depends on Apple. But at the very least, I do see a retest of 455 on Nvidia, and we will see what happens after that. Finally, for what is it? NIO. NIO is the last one I need to talk about. Actually, Tesla, then NIO. Let me just talk about Tesla first, then NIO. Tesla's looking pretty good. We may get a rejection, though, as we are starting to show signs of a decline. We might see Tesla cool off, just a little bit, gap down just a little bit, then trade sideways. And then after Tesla does this, we're going to be watching to see how it reacts. This is going to be very telling for tomorrow. Then it's going to depend on Apple. So I'm going to be looking for a retracement back down to about 270. Then we're going to be watching to see some sideways price action. Then it depends on Apple. Whatever Apple causes tomorrow with the events, that's going to affect the markets. For NIO, from a technical standpoint, it looks like it's going to try to fight this 200 EMA. We might see sideways price action around here. We have a potential inverse head and shoulders that could be forming, and there's a possibility we might see it try to break to about 10.6. My guts tells me there's going to be a little bit of upside. 10.6 could be tested for NIO, then a rejection and sideways price action, and then it's going to depend on Apple's event for the end of the day. Will Apple cause a pump? If it does, this could help NIO get close to 11 later on. If Apple causes a drop, then NIO is going to cool off, and we might see a very flat day. But I do believe before Apple's events, we might see NIO test 10.6 and make an attempt to fill the gap well above. Now, I just want to talk about a couple of things about NIO. On the 4-hour time frame, we got a bullish cross on the PPO, which is a pretty decent sign, and there's an increased probability of it trying to push above 10.5. On the daily charts, there's, it's getting very, very tight right now. So there's a real possibility of it trying to push up a little bit higher. So there is this daily, unfilled gap up here, which I think NIO is going to try to fill before anything. So this increases the odds of some upside, especially because of the news about the EC6. So I think NIO is going to make an attempt to push up just a little bit more. Then it's going to react to the market depending on what happens to Apple's event. So 10.6, I think that's going to be tested. Then it's all going to depend on Apple after that. Now, I do want to warn you that historically, Apple does sometimes sell off after these big events, but there's no guarantee because Apple did tank before the event already. So I can't make any calls on that just yet. We just have to wait and see. So until then, we're just going to be patient. Apple's big event is going to be happening at about 10 o'clock a.m. Pacific time or 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if you're ready, watch for some big volatility, and it's going to affect the whole market and NIO. Let's see some pumping in NIO in the morning tomorrow, and then we'll see what happens after that. Thank you for listening. Have a great day. NIO to the moon because the long term is very bright, and peace out.